Okay, so we've got volume and we're recording. So now we're coming back to where we last left off. A lot of times you guys are going to get interrupted in your models and you're going to have to shelve it for a day or two or come back to it, do something later. That's why having that plan that we created is good, because we can come back and say, well, where did I last leave off? You know, what do I still have to do? Let me sit down. It's kind of like what I do every Monday morning before my work week starts. What do I got to get done? You know, where am I at? You know, what did I do last week that I didn't get done this week? You know, where am I in my model? Did I shelve stuff? Did I do things? You know, what do we need to do? So where we last left off was we finished the pattern and we're going to start working on the front face and the top component. So we still have our reference image. And we're kind of modeling two different ones. I'm modeling this while at the same time as I'm modeling some of the details on this one. You know, so this is what we're modeling. It's just I so happen to have the reference image for this dial, so that's what I'll do. So again, we've got our front face. We've hidden it for the sake of making life easy. We'll bring it back up. And really, even as we're doing this, right off the bat, my mind is, okay, what do I need to do for this? Okay, well, I'm going to cut a hole into this front face. Then I will extrude a part upwards. I'll make another cut and then extrude another part. And then I've got two little nubs on there that I'm going to assume are kind of D-shaped rounds, and I'll place those on. So I'm still going to create a sketch, and you can kind of see how things just go a little bit quicker when you have that reference sketch and you're not having to do too much work. So I'm going to come in again. I want to make sure things are dimensioned. Ooh. So you don't have to, so in order to make things go a little bit quicker, you know, you don't have to fully dimension everything, but get the basic dimensions on there, you know, for something like this. And then some of the stuff we can kind of eyeball. So I'll give you guys some of that freedom. So what I'm going to do now, again, and you can see so far the majority of this, oops, and I did that again. I want to extrude cut. And I'm not so much worried about how deep I'm going. And then what I can do is I will, so part of this, I don't know what happened. Oh, I turned off my transparency, that's why. There we go. So what I want to do is I'm just going to create another circle in here. I'm going to use this plane as my sketch, or this surface. Any flat surface or any plane I can use to create my sketch. Now again, I have a couple options. I can draw a circle in here and give it a dimension. I can say I want to take this edge and I want to offset it. Whoops, let's go negative. Now, keeping in mind that the value of what I'm doing this way, I've just created a gap that is 0.005 or whatever it is. But the nice thing is because it's off of this edge, no matter where I move this opening, this extrude is always going to be together. So we always want to look at what are the relationships that we're trying to achieve. So for this one, hold on 1 second. So for this one, we always want to make sure that whatever this pocket is, that this dial and everything stays together. So I'm going to build it from the outwards going in. Now, here it's asking for a dimension. I can click on an edge and it will I can go up to surface and it automatically does that distance for whatever it needs to be. Now again, this is building a relationship. What that means is if I change the shape and size of this, this face will always be flush with that. I make sure I have merge results off. And then who had the question?
Yep. Never mind, I figured it out, sorry.
Nope, that's fine. So then we're going to come back. Oops. And I do that so much. I hate where the location is. I hit edit sketch when I want to actually create a new sketch. Bear with me. What I want to do is, I'm going to visually eyeball some of this stuff. So again, we're going to create another sketch. Now, one of the things I could have done to make things a little bit easier is instead of coming in here, sketching this, and then drawing another sketch and putting a hole down, and so I'm extruding, then I'm cutting, and then I'm extruding. Well, what I could have done was gone to my original sketch, bear with me while it pulls up. And I can draw that donut shape to begin with. I can dimension it and give it. And then what happens is, now when I go to extrude, it automatically extrudes that hole. So that I'm not having to do multiple commands. I can do it all at once. So now what I can do is come in and I can do another sketch. And again, we're just going to do an offset of that. Oh, that was not what I wanted. Make sure that's going the right way. And you can kind of see I didn't get it right. So we'll just come in and add a negative. And now you can see I'm intentionally leaving gaps, because in those gaps, again, things can't be edge on edge. They have to have gaps for them to move, to have some freedom. Well, at the same time, that's where the radiuses and the fillets are going to go in. So I'm kind of eyeballing it and coming up with a number. This gap may not be right, but that's fine. So the next thing that we want to do is, oops, our two little nubs. And I'm going to kind of cheat on these. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line. Oops. Let's actually be a little bit more mathematically accurate than this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line to the center. And I want to make sure that these points are coming properly off of the center. I'll draw another one over here, and I'm not being too fussy. But I want to make sure they're the right size. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to draw a circle that has the proper outside dimension. And I'm going to draw another circle for how short I want it. Now, these are what I'm going to refer to as construction lines. I can change it. You can see here where it's either geometry, which means that it's active, or it's a construction line, which means it's a dashed line and it's just reference. So what I can do is come and use my trim entities. And I'm going to extend that line to there, that line to there, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to trim it. And what it's doing is it's recognizing where are the edges. So I'm going to trim at that point there. And at that point there. Now, what I can do is I can come in, and I didn't build a rectangle because that's what they basically are, is they're rectangles. I'm going to come in, I'm going to go extrude. And because it's only a single line, it's not a square, what SolidWorks does is automatically say, oh, okay, we're going to give it a thickness. It's called the thin feature. And we're going to go in the midplane. And what that does is it's going to make it X amount thick off of both sides. So it's kind of drawing that rectangle for you. So it's a way of cheating. And we're just going to go 0.05. And then we're just going to reduce our height because these are really just little nubs. So now you can see I'm not dimensioning things, but they have dimensions. So that's kind of like what we were talking about, Carmen. Now, ideally, what I would want to do is I would want to make sure I knew what this diameter was and what this diameter was, or at least have a dimension on this, because someone's going to come and say, well, why, how long is that? What does that look like? If I'm doing this, I want it to be proportionate. So if I'm looking at this, I could eyeball it, or I could say, hey, you know what? These are meant to be secondary things. I want them to, let's go with the rule of thirds. Everybody knows thirds. Everybody loves thirds. So I'm going to want to know what the diameter of this is to this center, and I want this to be 1/3 the length of that dimension. So there I'm going to start doing some math. Now, if I am still modeling and playing, if let's say I'm the designer and I get final decisions, then I may not dimension it right off the bat. And the reason I might not dimension it off the bat is because I'm still sitting there going, well, I don't like that. I want that to be a little bit shorter. You know, I'm gonna build it, I'm gonna look at it. You know, maybe, because you'll learn when you draw the sketch, it looks one way. When you build it in the 3D model, you're going to get a different viewpoint of how your design looks. And then when you actually physically hold something, you're going to get a different perspective again, because it's all being done in different medium. And different medium gives you different feedback. Have you guys experienced that yet within your designs? On paper it looks great, but then when you make a full model, all of a sudden, why doesn't it look as great as my sketch? We're bringing it more and more to reality. So I'm going to come in and we want to make this round. Yes, Carmen.
I have one more question.
Little louder for me, Carmen.
Okay, sorry. I have one more question about the dimensioning specifically with this part. So I already made this, and I was trying to go into the sketch to dimension it, but it looks like I have like one quote unquote sketch. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen because it's going to be hard to explain. Okay, so like specifically this, I'm trying to get in here and I go to edit sketch and it just gives me this because I think that I had like all of those circles on here, but I don't know.
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're editing the sketch of the main body. So exit out of that sketch. Oops, you unshared your screen.
Oh, my bad.
So here's something also, when you guys share something, I want you to think and articulate, okay? Because that's going to be the biggest help. When you guys are designers and you're starting your careers, learning how to articulate what your ask is and what help you need. So you pulled this up, you clicked on something, but there was no actual ask of, hey, what am I doing wrong, or what did I do, or what are you trying to do? So when you click on that face, that goes back to the Boss Extrude. Now, part of that is, I believe, because that's not a separate part. It looks, if you go roll up in your menu tree, you're going to see you don't have a whole bunch of different bodies. So scroll up. Yep. So now go to your solid bodies. You should probably have more than 5 solid bodies. So see there where it's fillet 33 has all of that. So at some point when you did your extrusion, you forgot to click don't merge.
Damn.
And that's fine.
Okay.
So in order to fix that, what I want you to do is deselect everything. Okay, select that one face where the circle is and the 2 posts are. Yep. Now right click. Nope, go back over. So go slow and wait for me to give you the next step. Okay? Go up to edit feature.
Okay.
Or no, that's not going to be it. So scroll all the way down to the bottom to one of the last things that you built. Okay, go to the Boss Extrude number 11. Nope, Boss Extrude number 11.
Oh, wait.
So I want you to slow down.
11.
Near the very bottom, Boss Extrude, so above your fillets.
Oh.
Okay, now go up to the next Boss Extrude. So you need to find the one that is associated to that circle up there. Okay, go to the Boss Extrude number. Go to Boss Extrude number 8. No, go to Boss Extrude number 8. Down near the bottom.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Click on number 6. Okay, right click. Yep, edit feature. Turn off merge. Okay, so it's whatever extrude is above that. So do you know what I'm saying? Yep.
So,
No. So
okay, keep going.
you've got to find, go to boss. Yeah. Okay. Send me your
Yeah.
part. Do me a favor. Send me your part, and when we take a break, I'll pull it up. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Because if I have to redo it, I will. I would just prefer
No,
not to.
that's fine. All right. So what we're going to do now is we just want to add some of these details to get that to be a full round. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to come in and I'm just going to radius this all out. And you can see what's happening is that my tabs are a little bit high. So if I want this to be a full radius and this to be a little nub, if this is a 0.1 radius, then what I need to do is come back to my extrude. Come on. And now we've got just a simple little nub that has the radiuses. And the reason I knew, because if this is a 0.1 radius, that means that the height of the radius from this edge up to here is 0.01. So that needs to be the height of my object. So the next is, to add in those two little dots, which I'm not going to necessarily worry too much about, because I want to make sure that we're showing some different things. So if I look at my part now, the front face is pretty much done. The graphics are something that we would apply in KeyShot. Or the graphic designer is going to create the graphics and then we would just apply it in KeyShot. Sometimes you'll model it up in SolidWorks to bring it in, but basically what you're doing is bringing the Illustrator file in and using that as reference. So we're not going to worry about that for now because it's not something that we would model. So the next step is if we come back and we look at our part here, we have the split line and a couple posts and openings. So in order to do that and go quickly, what we're going to do is just go, oops, again, I edit my sketch instead of create new sketch. Come on. And now what we're going to do, just to make things easy, is we are going to create all of our openings at once. And for all intents and purposes, I'm just going quickly here so that we can be moving a little bit faster. Now, one thing that's going to happen is I did not shell this back portion. So if I come in now and I do my extrude cuts, you can see here they go all the way through, but over here it kind of shows half that edge. Now, this again, we talked about the history tree. What I can do is I can say, well, I really needed to extrude it, these cuts, after I shelled it. So I should have shelled it up in here. So I can come back and just go back in my menu tree. So that's basically what it's doing is you're moving back anything that's happened after this stays there. I can do a whole set of new commands now, and I can come in, open up this part or isolate it because I want to be able to just see this. And I can just go in, we'll do our shell. The face that I want gone is this front face. We'll just leave it at 0.1. So now I've got my shelled part. Now what I can do is I'll exit isolate. And I can do my extrude cut there, and everything still updates. So I don't necessarily have to wait until later. Now, again, what is the quickest way to do things? I don't have any radiuses on these corners. I could have put the radiuses in the 2D sketch, or I can do the radiuses manually. I have seen a lot of engineers who will put whatever radius they can in the 2D sketch because they like to control things more with the 2D sketch. I know designers that will put the radiuses in afterwards. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's what is your preference. I think you could have people who would argue the same for everything. So what we then do is we could add our radiuses in there, but now, again, same thing. We need to create some switches that things are going to go into. So what is it that we want to do? We talked about this before when we made the switch back here. If we're going to do something, we're just fudging things in. We don't need it to be perfect right now. So we don't need to see if things are going to toggle or not toggle. So it comes down to the fact of what do we want to build? We want to build a separate component that fudges what we're expecting to see. So let me hide this part. And again, if I'm trying to go fast, how can I go, what is the fastest way that I can do this? So I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to draw a sketch on here. And this is where, you know, I can show the nitty gritty. And I'm going to do just down and dirty because I just want to draw a part there and a part there. I'm going to extrude a piece. I don't really care how long it is because I just need it to look like this teal shape up here. I want to make sure they're not merged, so I'm going to have two separate bodies. And then it's a matter of coming in and drawing in whatever that shape is going to look like for that toggle switch. I'll extrude it. Now I want to make sure it merges with this bottom piece because it's going to be its own separate color. But I want to go in and make sure I'm selecting that piece. Now, going in and adding the radiuses and the fillets are going to be very important, because if not, it's going to have a weird look to it as a shiny button. I'm going to want to add the same one in here. Now this one I can't tell. These ones look more like they're wheels, which you can just draw. If we're going to make it a wheel, you're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to come in and let's draw on this plane. And we're going to do a circle. And it may not actually even be a circle. Now I don't have the other body part on there. So let's make sure that we turn that on. We don't want to merge results on. But we've got a smooth appearance here. So we do want to do a notch out and a cut. So if we come back and we go isolate, and let's just go in and go sketch on this plane. And what we can do is we're just going to do a real simple one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an extrude cut. Now I could revolve it, but what I want to do is I'm going to do a single cut. Again, I want to make sure I select just that body. So there it is there. And then what I can do is let's go with a circular pattern. Now I'm in 3D space again, so it doesn't know what X, Y, and Z is. But since I'm doing a circular pattern, it is looking for an axis. I can click on the edge of this face and it automatically finds that axis for us. We're telling how many degrees. We have to select the feature. The feature is going to be that cut. And you can see we don't have enough, so let's just crank it all the way up. And I'm just cranking it up until now we've got our little rib niblet. Now, one thing we don't have though is we don't have the radiuses. And we don't want to have to go in and add a radius to every single one of these. So again, if we have the difference between capturing a radius and not, which that's going to look a lot different when we have a radius, what we can do is come back before the circular pattern. We can toss in our fillet. Now, what we're going to do is on our circular pattern, we had said, so it broke, because it overlaps. We had said from a feature standpoint, only do the cut. So we also want to copy the fillet. Now, what's happening is, you can kind of see it, is that the fillets overlap. So what we're going to have to do is do a few less. Are you able to see that, what I'm showing there? Why it was failing? So, let's see if that gives it, there we go. So now if we exit isolate, come on. Give me 1 second. I want to kill this. There we go. So now you've got your little button with there. Now, if I was to look at this, I'm going to say, because I eyeballed everything, that is way too thin. You know, I think all of you can say and look at it and say, well, that's not a very attractive looking button switch. You know, it's a little fat, a little thick. So again, what we can do is we're going to design, build, evaluate, and refine. So if I say that's a little bit big, what I can do is come back and edit things. Now, this is where having dimensioning it properly helps. Because I might look at that and say, well, it needs to be about half that thickness. So I have to go back far enough for that opening. Let's come back down here. And if I go right now and I say, well, I'm going to want it to be half that thickness. I'm going to go and make it 0.08. Well, it didn't know where to go. I didn't constrain it to be off of a center line. So now I have to go back in and constrain something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I want it to be on the center of this. So I can come in and draw construction line and say, let's do this. It's going to be 0.08, 0.04. Something's not right there. So, so you can kind of see how the whole thing moved a little bit. That happens sometimes. I don't know why, it's a glitch. So I want to delete that dimension. And I want to make sure that it is 0.04 off of there. There we go. So now I can update, but now we automatically know, and we should know, that, hey, what's going to happen is that that's going to be too thick. Now, again, because I didn't give it a relationship, if I had said, hey, extrude this up to that face, everything would have updated on its own. That's the value of doing some of the dimensions. That's the value of utilizing parametric modeling. You know, some of the other software out there that allows you to sculpt things and freeform things, if you're to make that change, you have to do everything manually. So if we come back and we say, okay, well, we had extruded at a dimension and we didn't extrude it up, we just gave it a number. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to go offset from surface. So what that means is I can go extrude up to a surface, which means it's going to go right there. But we know things can't, like, we know things that we want things to have a bit of a gap. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna